Kimberly Perry, the owner of Bounce. We're now in August 2020. When you first started Bounce, did you really believe it was going to be as successful as it has been?
Absolutely not. I was looking for something that I could do that was my passion, which is fitness, and something that would coincide with being a new mum. So I had recently had those feelings when I got pregnant and was looking for a change of career and how I valued my time as, a new mum. And so when I started Bounce, it was really basically just a title of an exercise class that I was going to do once or twice a week for some friends, or to make friends. And my skills, my corporate skills, and the rapid rise of interest in the business made it become a business per se, and Bounce was born with more tenacity surrounding it being a company.
So what was actually your core skill? Was it actually being a fitness instructor, and where did the corporate ability, where did that come along?
No, I am a sales manager. I've always been in sales. I've always worked corporate, whether that is in real estate, property development, events, and sales and events was the most recent thing I was doing in London before I moved to Harlow. So that's obviously a fast-paced world. You're working in the day, you're out in the evening, you're schmoozing, you're doing things on weekends, you have to travel. And like I said, getting pregnant and wanting a little bit of a slower pace, I was assessing my core skills, and my interest is in sport and fitness. So making any sort of income from that was a goal. But having, a good amount, 15 years or so by that point behind me in the corporate world of sales, I had quite solid business acumen to take it forward.
And where was there a moment when you're thinking this is more than just me on a trampoline in a gym in Harlow? This could be something big. Was there a pivotal moment?
I was teaching around 12 classes in a 7-day period. I was doing back-to-back classes in the morning, in the evening, and I realized I needed some support. I loved it, but I developed a training program and a manual assessment model, that sort of thing. And I recruited or scouted some skilled gymnasts and dancers to do a training course in Bounce. And at that point, I realized, being in sales and having to do that previously, they were my core skills, and I could develop that training model into something that was more reputable. And then for those trainees to go on and have their own Bounce studio and franchise. So that is when it became a franchise model. And I worked with a legal team to develop that side of things, and and everything to protect the brand and the intellectual property. And it definitely took off from that point.
So when you say protect the brand, do you check up on other people who you've franchised, I'm not sure this is the right term, franchised it out to, that they're going to protect and enhance your brand?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of rules and requirements in franchising which keep the brand, reputable, and everyone following the same sort of processes. So I've worked very, very hard on maintaining that standard and brand identity. So absolutely, there's a management team at this stage who require all the franchisees to act in a certain way. They must maintain continued professional development every quarter to keep their instructing badge. And, there's that legal side of the franchise agreement that they have to operate between. So if you go to Bounce in Harlow, in Huddersfield, Edinburgh or Devon, even Australia or New Zealand, you will get the same class with the same standard. And that comes from franchising. So we do check on that for sure.
So Bounce is going very well, and then COVID-19 comes along in March. How have things been over the last 5 months, and how are things now?
I mean, on a motivational and support personal level, Bounce is all about bringing people together. So that's a terrible time for a company that builds its business on togetherness. You can't imagine anything worse than self-isolation or home isolation. So that was very difficult for our clients and our instructors, because we're bred to bring people together. On a business level, I've never offered anything online because of that commitment to the franchisees and selling them a protected zone to franchise within. Now, if I go and do things online, what's the point of people going to a studio venue that someone has franchised and bought from me? So my commitment was never to offer that, because I don't believe in, being on your own at home. I don't think that that's motivating, or I don't think that that's the joy in exercise. I think it's teamwork and togetherness.
So
COVID hits, we have to go that way. There is that need to adapt as a business and send our classes online. So at that point, all of the classes that I teach in a studio or that any franchisees or instructors do, I had to record and work very rapidly with IT team and make sure that we were protecting the brand, but also offering a quality standard of classes online. We had to sell all of the trampolines that we had in stock for future to individuals. We don't normally sell them individually. We sell them as a package to a new franchisee. We couldn't do that, obviously. So thank goodness we had a lot of stock, and we immediately put income into delivery drivers shipping trampolines to individuals up and down the country. So they get the trampoline, they can then log onto our website, and instead of booking a studio class, they would book an online class and do it at home.
So now we're back. Is it good to be back?
It's the bounce back. It's the hashtag bounce back. So we worked very hard on that branding and making sure that people understood that this is where we want you to get back to safely. With a few changes, like separating the trampolines further apart, no warm touch, hug, high five, no camaraderie. We keep it a safe distance. We've had to separate the class times. Usually we do back-to-back times, and people might book 1 or 2 classes in a row. That can't happen anymore. There's got to be safe thoroughfare through the building. The places that can bounce back and return back, they're definitely thriving. Many of our franchisees and clients cannot get back to studios because of the venues that they rent and operate within. So it's a process, but I'm pleased to say out of 350 franchisees, we have just over half open now within the first month. And come September, I believe that 95% of our venues will be open and can open.
Turning to the future, you are rightly hailed as a real Harlow success story. And you are, how do you use the term, wheeled out a lot. You'll see you on the BBC, you'll see you in magazines, here you are on your Harlow. But do you feel, now I recently saw you're at a planning meeting. Can you give a little bit of detail without, prejudicing the whole process?
Yeah.
What are you looking for? And at the moment, what are your frustrations? And finally, is there a fear, a concern that you could end up moving out of Harlow?
Yeah, that's a very real scenario. I'm really forlorn thinking about it. It's incredibly nerve-wracking, because Harlow as a town and a community have built this brand, this business. It began with 8 trampolines in Harlow, and from that there are now 350 venues up and down the UK and 47,000 people that bounce every single month in this country. We would not have had that. There would not be that many people doing fitness in this country if Harlow hadn't helped grow bounce. And bounce appeals to everyone. If you can jump, you can do it. There's, men, women, children, but predominantly women with preschool age children coming in and doing these exercise classes because we're child friendly. Now that growth is saying something. There is a need for a business or a brand. There is a demographic and a market that wants to do exercise. And taking that away from Harlow, where we're homegrown, it's just the most heartbreaking thought. I have a lot of respect for Harlow Council and all of the departments, and like you said, I work very closely with them, and we're committed to doing a lot within the community on behalf of bringing attention to this great town and the positives and all it has to offer, the town parks, the great shopping, the access to London, to the coast. I love living here, and I just feel like there needs to be more cohesion between the departments of the council and everyone within the community. You have to listen to the voices and understand that this business, what we do for fitness, particularly in this area, is incredibly necessary for the happiness and the health and well-being of residents.
Just going into specifics, what is your application for and what are the problems?
Yeah, the building that we operate in that we call HQ, Harlow HQ, is the HQ in the world for bounce. We have venues in Australia, New Zealand and abroad, and everyone knows Harlow HQ because it's what this brand is built on. That's these premises that we're in, and it's around 6,000 square foot, and we ship all of our trampolines from here. All of our clothing, everything that you see as branding is happening from Harlow HQ. And when we got these premises 3 years ago, we put in a planning application that has recently, been objected to, and that's because there isn't enough parking for what the council sees as the required pedestrianism and people coming into this venue. I think we need to understand from the council what the problem is, and if that's the case and you want us to stay here, then work with the highway department and let's look at what's happening in the streets and use one of the council departments to improve that. Explain that clearly and so we can work out what to do. But if you lose bounce from Harlow HQ, you lose a huge part of this heart of Harlow, because we do so much, and the community and women and children are such a big part of bounce in Harlow, and they won't be here, they won't go here, they won't be healthy and fit in this town. We'll have to go somewhere else.
So with all these frustrations here where we are, why can't you just move?
I spent 2.5 years looking for a venue and working with 3 or 4 agents on a weekly basis, viewing properties everywhere in Harlow and further, because I wanted somewhere accessible. We're a child-friendly fitness class, so basic things like there can't be any steps, someone needs to push a buggy into the studio, we play music, so it obviously can't be anywhere sort of residential. Some people have suggested going into somewhere like the Harvey Centre. It's not possible because of the other contractual obligations of things like Exercise for Less or other sports and wellbeing venues in certain vicinities. Just the lease requirements and restrictions mean that you can't be a competing brand. So there's many things that I would have loved to not be in a semi-industrial area, but as it stands where we are, there's 2 nurseries on this street, there's a high school on this street, Staple Tie is less than 100 metres away. There's parking there, there's unrestricted parking everywhere, there's bus stops, 3 or 4 bus stops all around here, child wellbeing centres. It's an ideal place without being affected or competing with other brilliant things within Harlow. So believe me, I have looked and searched, and this venue is more than I needed, more expensive than I wanted, and it was in more disrepair. So those things I had to deal with and plough money into to make good. So I feel like it was a brilliant find, minus those things, but I was willing to take that on board, and unfortunately we can't go anywhere else. There's nowhere in Harlow.
So in conclusion, if I could say that Bounce and Kimberly Perry have been an ambassador for Harlow, but now you really need Harlow to be an ambassador for you.
Yeah,
Is that your appeal?
Absolutely. I mean, we have hundreds of people signing petitions over the last 3 years and writing letters into the council and saying, if you let this company leave, my health and well-being will suffer. I mean, how can the council not listen to all of those things and not put them all together and weigh up the pioneering work that we're doing and the tenacity that we have for this town and the good that we're doing, because of not realistically looking at minor factors that we can work around, we can sort out. So yeah, we need people to rally together and to say, I know that company, I need that company here, and I want that company to stay doing good for Harlow.
Kimberly Parry, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.